Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is every other Thursday. That's an odd thing to say, isn't it? Today is every other Thursday. No, it's Thursday, but in my calendar, it's every other Thursday, which means today we have the Renew Life RX show with a guy I really like spending time with. We have so much in common, except he's the better-looking version of me. That's Adam Lamb. But and we were just talking guns off the air and motorcycles and fast cars and how, you know, when you love those kind of things, when you play with them, they just make you smile. You can't help it. Because I got to ride my motorcycle to work today. Finally stopped raining long enough. I buy a motorcycle, literally rained every day since I bought the bike. Today, the gods were happy with me. So anyway, before we get started with today's show, which is going to be about testosterone, it's a really interesting show about testosterone. Testosterone has been blamed for a lot of things. It's been blamed for stuff like aggressiveness and so on. And there is some value to testosterone as it helps you handle stress better. But there have been conflicting studies, and we may have figured out why there's conflicting studies. But before we do that, we have to, of course, pay homage. Hold on a second. I'm having trouble with to Legendary Foods, our title sponsor. Legendary really puts a lot of money behind this show. And I've been saying for a long time that if this show has helped you in any way, shape, or form, you must patronize the sponsors because they make it possible. This is a free show. We work on the terrestrial model. We have advertisers that make the show possible, and then we bring you good content. We hope we bring you good content. I think we bring you good content. And if you feel that way, then the way to reward us is to, whenever possible, patronize the sponsors. And Legendary Foods is one of those. So is Renew Life RX. Right now, you can get any of Legendary's products for 10% off if you use the code SHR10. Go to eatlegendary.com. Check out the Tasty Pastry, which is a Pop-Tart 2.0 with 9 grams of protein, less than 1 gram of sugar. It doesn't get much better than that. And, of course, their nut butters are unbelievable. You won't believe that they don't have any added sugar in them. You won't. And then their seasoned nuts, seasoned almonds out of this world. You can't. If I open them up and I'm going to have a handful, I end up eating the whole bag all the time because they're that darn delicious. So check them out. Go to eatlegendary.com today and show them some love. And of course, let me put that banner down and of course play Adam's theme song.
The first step to changing your life starts with the Renew Life Show with Adam Lamb.
How you doing, Adam?
I'm good. I think I like that jingle.
You like what?
It's a smile on my face too. Kind of like
the jingle, right?
Fast car. Yeah.
I'm the same way when my theme song plays. I look at my face because I'm got a camera and I start smiling at myself and I feel like a trained chimpanzee.
That's fun. That's good.
How are you?
Man, I'm well. Thank you. How are you?
Good. COVID free. Yeah, right on.
That's good.
Have to worry about that. Everybody's probably wondering, like, why do I have a picture of somebody's hand in an ice bath? And that's because in a clinical setting, this is called a cold pressor test. And a cold pressor test is a way to establish your ability to handle stress. And science has been using this test for a very, very long time. And there's been a lot of discussion about the effects of testosterone on mood, aggression, but more so about the ability to handle stress. And in that area, the handling stress research has been conflicting. They've shown that if you have high testosterone levels, you don't handle stress well. And if you have high testosterone levels, you do handle stress well. And that has been a real problem because the science is supposed to be reproducible, right? The rigors of science say if we can reproduce this, then we could say we understand it, let's move on. But when it comes to stress, it's been confusing, right?
Yeah. And I think that, with any study, and one of our partners, Dr. Lopez, who I was actually going to talk to you about offline to come on a show recently, he does a lot of clinical trials, especially in the supplement space. But, when he's doing a clinical trial, he was explaining that there's an outcome he wants, right? And so depending on the outcome you're looking for, you can get that outcome. And so that's where, like with the data we do with, the thousands of people we've helped and we have these conversations about. And I love this topic today because it was something I really talked about yesterday. And I was explaining that, a lot of people get into the testosterone, area for the physical benefits. And as you go through life, usually, or at least I'd say you should, the priorities change and you see the psychological side, the cognitive side of the testosterone as well, right? More like when I was in my 20s, I wasn't taking, my late 20s, doing bodybuilding stuff. I wasn't worried about cognitive function, managing stress. I just want to get big and strong, right? But, I'm 40 now, and by no means do I think I'm old, but as we get older, my priorities change. Yeah, I want to stay fit, but I want to be able to manage my thoughts better. I want to be able to manage decisions better. I want to be able to manage just how I react to things better, right? And we see that so much with, I would say, the majority of our patients with Renew Life, our conversations are around the psychological side of testosterone.
Because that's where symptoms generally live. I mean, tender nipples from high estrogen, that's physical, right? You can feel that. Yeah. But most of the symptoms that people have that drive them to consider HRT are how they feel. It's all about feels. It's like, I don't feel good. I don't have a sense of well-being. That's a feeling. I feel depressed. I feel weary. I feel sad. I feel anxiety. I mean, I'm doing air quotes here for the people who are watching around every one of these words. But when we talk about the manifestation of many symptoms, probably I'd say a good 70 to 80% of the symptoms are felt. They're realized by your brain. And when we talk about testosterone, we're talking about a very, very powerful neuroendocrine hormone. Yeah. That actually, I just had a conversation with somebody this morning via text message. Most children who develop psychoses, they develop it at the onset of puberty. Mm. This is anxiety disorder, eating disorders, ADHD, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia. Very well known. Schizophrenia doesn't start until a child starts to go through puberty, and that's because estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, DHT, these are the most powerful neurosteroids in your body. They change your brain. They change the way it works. And so when we start to talk about brain function, you cannot, and this is what baffles me about doctors who treat, let's say, young people with eating disorders. They don't even look at hormonal assays. They don't even look and see. Like, that is not even in their wheelhouse of consideration. They'll put a child on a bunch of, what's that?
Especially for women.
Yes.
Especially for women. I mean, like, yes. You can't even say testosterone to have it looked at in a general setting for females. And a lot of times it's everything. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you how many women we see, their testosterone literally doesn't measure. It's so low. And they're depressed, they have all these other issues that everyone wants to give them something for. We say, hold on, let's try this. 30 days later, it's the best they felt in their life.
And that's the most common statement a woman says when she starts to embark on menopause. And someone has the common sense to bring her testosterone levels either by frank injections of testosterone or supplementation of or DHEA, which has a high conversion rate testosterone. The first thing they say is, I feel amazing. Right. Yeah. It's not a male hormone. It's a female hormone too.
Yeah. Well, it's a hormone, right? So like if we could play the gender thing, it's a hormone. And that hormone's responsible for a lot of things. And when we're like this conversation today about the psychological side, that hormone's responsible for confidence. That hormone's responsible for your ability to believe you can, right? You literally, like, when you think of these dominant, like, you look at the old school back in the day, warriors, heroes, got like, they're just filled with testosterone. That level of, testosterone in their body is converting over to who they are and who they believe they can be and what they believe they can do. And it also helps, I think, so many times with decision making. That's something that we have a conversation about that people don't pay attention to, but we ask them, how are you with decision making now? And they're like, well, I see the answer better. I'm more confident in the path I go. Right. And
there was a study done probably about 15 years ago that made me think that every police officer should be tested for testosterone levels. And here's why. Reaction time. You would think that higher testosterone levels have higher reaction time, fast reaction. No. In fact, you're more likely to overreact to the wrong stimulus if your testosterone is low. And when you think about that old saying, the most dangerous animals in the forest are the old ones, because they are like ready to kill anything because they're so freaked out every second of the day. They just don't have the mojo anymore to walk and strut and be calm.
Right.
And I lived this. When I went through my divorce, I was being assaulted on a regular basis. And I use that word specifically. Nobody was hitting me. Police officers knocking on my door, all this nonsense that was going on. And I was taking 2 grams of test a week at that time. And I was so chill. I was just like, I would not have been able to handle what was going on and have the common sense to say, I'm going to pick up and move to Arizona. Like, I would have been freaked out all the time.
And I always use this analogy with folks to explain too, because I think you brought on a point where, I could say, oh, hey, Carl, you get a new hat, right? Let's say you and I are passing the office. And if your testosterone's low, you might think, oh man, I shouldn't have wore this hat. I should have never bought it. Adam probably thinks it's stupid. But if your testosterone's high, you're gonna be like, yeah, I knew I should have bought this hat. Adam thought it was cool. And it's
perception.
Silly, but anyone that has been on and off testosterone knows this is fact. And same with, especially again with women, the confidence a woman has with their testosterone's optimal. And we just hear it all the time, like the stuff just rolls off their shoulder. They're not as bothered, right? And with men, same thing too. It's like there's guys we talk to that something like some guy not moving forward at a green light could just piss them off for 3 hours, right? And when they're on testosterone, they're like, whatever. Right. And that's
Jeff Clifton says every officer he works with, when they get tested for testosterone, they are always low, especially night shift workers. Sure. Yes, absolutely. But see, this puts them and the public at great risk because they're more likely to make a bad decision. This is one of those areas where professional sports has ruined medicine. Because if I wanted to go to the local PD captain and say, look, you'll have a better police force if you just get them tested, and the guys who are low need to be supplemented. And he would say no, because of, they'll be scrutinized. And then if they do something, it's going to be like a roid rage. And it's just nonsense. In fact, they'll be more chill. They handle things better. They make better decisions about it. So now, and here's an interesting, so this study actually helps us better understand. This was a multi-centric study that was performed at 4 different locations, 2 of them in Slovakia, 1 in Austria, and 1 in Vienna. And what they set out to do was to compare the different responses to stress. One, like you're by yourself and you're experiencing the stress all by yourself. And the other, you're experiencing the same exact stress, but now there are people involved. They're witnessing what you're doing. They thought, let's see what happens. So what they did to the subjects, they were men, 120 men, I believe it was. They put them into this cold presser in a room. They most likely laid them on a bed, and they put they submerge one hand up to the wrist in a bath of ice water. And this immediately makes blood pressure rise in most people. And the longer your hand's in there, you start to feel like, oh man, I can feel my hand starting to hurt a little bit now. Now it's getting numb. I'm freaking out. And you start to get freaked out. And obviously cortisol goes up. All stress responses go up. Blood pressure increases. And heart rate increases and so on. So we know that administering testosterone on top of these tests has a different outcome. So what they did was they administered testosterone and they brought their testosterone up, or they didn't. And what they found out was when they increased testosterone, when they were by themselves, their blood pressure response increased, cortisol production increased, the whole stress experience increased. But here's the fascinating part. When they did the same exact thing, but this time they were observed by other people or a person, their blood pressure response did not go up. It actually decreased, which means that testosterone modulates stress based on whether or not it's social anxiety type stuff, or if you're by yourself. If you're by yourself and you don't care who sees you freaking out, you're going to respond appropriately. But if you're in a room full of people and like you're in pain, you're going to be chill about it, because the outward perception becomes the most important thing at that time. Because remember, from an evolutionary perspective, showing pain could get you eaten.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Get you killed really quick.
A couple good points there too. And here's something to think about with that is that if I'm a testosterone dominant, I'm optimized with testosterone, there's a sense of I need to manage a stressful situation better for those around me that might be, like a ship sinking or some kind of, like handling situations and with a clear head. And I think the presence of somebody can also make you think of that, right? Where you're by yourself, you're like, or someone, but maybe you're with your wife and all of a sudden you're like, I got this, right? Because you know that I have to, that testosterone optimization is clicking the role to be strong and control a situation. I think the second side of that too is that just having that increased testosterone and the difference between the two, meaning that in that situation, like you said, you keep yourself together more, but it reminds us to practice being chill in stress. And like the Wim Hof situation, getting in the ice bath and those kind of things. And I've done that with, with my sauna. I remember Joe Rogan even talks about his last 5 minutes in the sauna, like everything in his brain's telling him, just get out, right? And so we manage through those times of stress too, whether it's you're on or off hormones, it helps you manage stress everywhere, and so that's something I think when you're by yourself, like you said, you don't care what anyone thinks, but you should still care about how you manage it. And I think it helps us be stronger in all stressful situations.
I've been doing contrast hot and cold sauna with cold showers for over a decade, longer, since I've been training really. And I haven't trained now in 64 days, thanks to Governor Bashir. I've lost. What's that?
I got in Monday here in Texas. We opened up Monday.
I've lost a lot of muscle. I mean, don't get me wrong. It'll come right back. I know it will. But one of the things I miss the most is sitting in that sauna until it's painful, and then jumping in an ice cold shower and gasping for air.
Yeah.
And then doing it again. The second time, it's not as bad. The first time, it's killer. The second time, it's like no big deal.
I find that when I go from hot to cold and then back to hot, that second hot is like really hot. The cold isn't as bad. And I do it in the wintertime here in Texas. I'll just I'll go in my sauna. I bought one because I love the sauna. I do it every single morning, 30 minutes. It's infrared sauna. It's like my favorite part of my day. And then I would go and hop in the pool. Sometimes if someone's home, I was worried. Or I just, I get out of there anyway and I go take a shower and just start it cold. But if I have to go back and forth, that second hot is like too much. I turn into a wuss.
Yeah, no, I do it. So you want to answer this question?
Speaking of cold water, can you guys discuss the ice bath cold shower freezing test? What I've always
do you think there's a raise test? There's no data on it.
Oh no.
To support it, but what do you think?
I've never seen that. I think that it's definitely has a lot of health benefits to doing it. Anytime you can stress the body in a safe way, you're going to make your body better. We often forget, and here's a great example too of this, is that hand in the hot or cold, right? So that's creating a stress environment. What do you think a 50-pound dumbbell does, right? So it's a similar thing. And so but for us in this game, like a lot of us, the listeners and stuff here, we're into work.
learning how to manage pain and stress, right? When I squatted heavy, I squatted heavy. I mean, I squatted heavy for most people in the United States.
Yeah.
And the weight on my back, as soon as I would get it off, take it off the pins in the squat rack, like a billion thoughts would be going through my head. Am I going to blow excuse me, I'm sorry, I got to bleep that out. Am I going to blow a disc? Am I going to get caught in the hole and look like a goofball as I drop 700 pounds on the floor behind me? Like all that, and learning to control the noise in your head is part of becoming a strong individual.
And it sounds silly. I haven't learned it through yoga. There's a lot of that yoga where I went into the yoga and I'm surrounded by like girl. I didn't want to be the guy that couldn't do what the little skinny girl could do next to me. And I had to get deep into my wanting to not give up type situation. But that's the same with the weight training. And what we find is the practice of stressing yourself and getting through it makes you stronger, like mentally and physically. Your body adapts. So you literally do get stronger. You literally do you have more stamina and things of that nature. So I think it's good. And testosterone just improves that path, right? Of what you're
makes you more malleable. It makes you more confident. And so the hormetic effect, I was wondering what he was laughing about. He said, ha ha, miss listening to the show. Happy to be back. Was it because I almost cursed, Darcy? Was that what you think is funny? I caught myself, but yeah. So getting back to this study at hand, one of the things that they found out was the effects of testosterone in stress depend on whether or not it's in a social context or not. Now, this is pretty cool stuff when you think about it.
Yeah.
It means when you use test, if your test levels are high, you can still be a girly man when you're by yourself in the shower. But like when somebody else is watching you, you're going to be a rough and ready dude.
Yeah.
That's really what they learned here.
And it makes me wonder, from a conversation to how we are shelter in place right now, right? So makes me think of if panic is increased because I'm at home in front of my TV going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Well, as opposed to at the office where it's on the monitor and there's 8 of us looking at it, we're like, it's overrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because socially, we may be stronger at,
now, from an evolutionary perspective, that makes perfect sense, right? We always say there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
And it isn't just a 1 + 1 = 2 type of phenomenon where there's power in numbers.
Yeah.
We know that. So absolutely, social fabric makes a difference. And clearly, testosterone responds to that social fabric. The summarize of this particular paper said, our results are also in line with research showing that testosterone decreases social anxiety and suggests it may help to modulate the effects of stress in socially challenging situations.
I have something for everybody.
Go.
Try, remove alcohol, right? Add testosterone to your life. Give it 90 days. See what happens. And I promise massive change in all of that. When you think of how we usually take care of social anxiety, cocktail, right? And we know that alcohol lowers testosterone, increases estrogen, causes increased anxiety, all kinds of other things. And I say this because I've seen and I regularly speak to a group of guys that helping men remove alcohol and get their hormones optimized. And what we see in their lives is nuts. I mean, it's off the charts, next level new life, and it helps them come off alcohol. But I say it not for people that have a drinking problem, but for people I know that right now we don't have social anxiety issues. Maybe there's anxiety because we want to go be social, but to consider trying hormone therapy and navigating through those social situations without that comfy cocktail. And I know it from the experience. I've seen probably 200 guys go through stuff like that and have tremendous success.
There was a doctor in New York that I had on my show probably 12 years ago. I just remember his first name was Joel. I'm sorry I can't remember his last name. It'll probably come to me during the commercial break. But that's exactly what he did. He took drug addicts. I mean, opioid, heroin, methamphetamine. They went through a program of detoxification, but it was in concert with getting their hormones balanced. Looking at they all had low testosterone, giving them testosterone, 200 milligrams a week, looking at DHEA, looking at pregnenolone, progesterone, and getting their hormones optimized. And so instead of just sending them into a program to get off of their substance of choice, they were sent into a program to get off their substance of choice at the same time while they were put on HRT. And his success rate was not just amazing, but the recidivism rate was like 10%, because usually like guys who abuse heroin, who abuse meth, they just go through series of going into a program and getting clean and abusing again, and like his recidivism rate was 10%. Like out of every 100 guys that went through the program, 10 of them ended up going back and getting on drugs because they didn't need the drugs anymore. Because let's face it, look, I was a drug abuser when I was a kid. And I probably didn't grow up in the best environment. I mean, my household definitely wasn't Leave It to Beaver world, right? And I felt a lot of stress growing up. There was fear, there was anguish, there was, as a young child, you manifest those, but you swallow them down, you forget about them, but they're there. And so when I was old enough when I first learned about alcohol, I started drinking at a very young age, and then it was pot, and then it was other drugs, and it just went from there. But let's be honest. We call those recreational, but that wasn't really recreation like baseball or golf. That was self-medication.
Yeah.
I was able to disconnect from that scared feeling person inside me when I was blown out of my mind.
Well,
I didn't even.
What happens is when I grew up probably pretty similar situation, just like not a Beaver Cleaver household. And what happens is the great thing about drugs and alcohol is it takes away a lot of that feeling. It's the feeling, it's still there, but it numbs it so you can deal with it. And so I almost believe that young people, and that's part of why I'm so passionate about working with young people, but working with like young students, they don't know they just suppress all that. They just deal with all this, whether it's an abusive household or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden they end up trying some sort of drug or alcohol. And they're like, holy cow, I don't feel this burden that I've been carrying.
Right.
And then that's what they just reach for. That's the unwind. That's the, and it's unfortunate because we don't spend as much time helping to manage stress and finding better outlets, sports and things like that for young people. But you're right. The whole time they're just like, I wish this could all go away. And then they try out.
And it does. It does. Like a minute later, they're like King Kong. They like, I like this feeling. And so when you meet alcoholics and you meet drug abusers, when you look at them, see a little child whimpering inside them, because deep down inside, that's what they are. They're afraid, and they get disconnected from their fear, and they get disconnected from their anxiety by literally getting their brain blown to smithereens on drugs or alcohol, whatever they're. You get their heart, and keep in mind, I was an obese kid. At 12 years old, I was touching 220 pounds.
Wow.
And so, I lived in a neighborhood where it was quasi unsafe to be out.
Yeah.
I stayed home a lot. My father said we're going to have to buy a cow because I drank like a half gallon of milk a day on top of everything else I ate. And I'm sure that I was like a pool of estrogen because I had so much aromatase going on. So I probably suffered through that. And then when I lost all the weight, we moved to Queens. I started playing handball. In one summer, all the weight comes off, but the drug abuse continued. It didn't. I didn't go, I feel better now, I'm going to stop doing drugs.
Yeah, there's always that there's, especially during this like COVID thing, I joke with my wife, I'm like, there isn't a day that goes by that I wouldn't love to have a double scotch or something to like, because I know that edge it knocks off kind of feeling, but I also know that it's fake. And I know that it just keeps stacking up unless you actually deal with it. And so that was the most powerful thing I noticed when I quit drinking. It'll actually be 4 years here in a few months, but was that ability to solve problems. And then you add that to, and then you put testosterone there too. And dude, it's like next level. You know, I mean, you're a race car compared to most people. And it's sad, but you see it when you look out there and you see kind of that same circle of friends kind of doing the same circle of things. And you're able to see so much more outside of that because, you know, from removing alcohol and just shifting your focus. And I think testosterone really can help guys because a lot of the reason men cope in that 40s, later age, 40s, early, alcohol issues is just helps them kind of cope with stress. And there's also
not feeling good anymore. They just don't feel good.
Not feeling good, right? So I don't feel like having sex with my wife. I don't feel like hanging out with my kids. I don't want to do it, but you know what? The couple of drinks makes me forget about that feeling. The reality is we pull the drinks out, add the testosterone, and now they're more engaged in life.
We have to take a break. I want to answer Jeff Clifton's question on the other side. It's a good question, and it's something I actually want to get deep into a discussion. So we're going to take one quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be discussing more about testosterone. You're listening to the Renew Life RX show. You can find your answers by going to renewliferx.com and getting signed up. We will be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Stay tuned.
Men and women, you've heard about hormone optimization. Do you feel like it's something you want to look into? RenewLifeRx.com is the place to start. Their doctors can help you with the solutions. RenewLifeRx.com has a simple process for lab work, consultation, and taking a deep dive into where your hormone levels can be improved. Superhuman Radio listeners get 30% off your initial lab work and consultation. Go to RenewLifeRx.com to schedule your no-obligation phone consultation today. Feel younger, get in better shape, and be more productive at RenewLifeRx.com.
Are you a fan of the low-carb lifestyle? Having trouble getting fat adapted on your keto diet? Feel like your digestion has stalled? Now there's Capex. Capex increases fat loss and energy on any low-carb, no-carb diet, all while improving digestion. Capex boosts AMPK in muscles by 52% and fat cells by 300%. Capex increases ATP in your liver by 22%, a key part of energy production, all while revving up the fat-burning hormone adiponectin by a whopping 248%. Nothing works like Capex, and now you can get Capex for up to 42% off by going to kenergize.com/SHR and choosing one of the purchase options and using the code SHR. That's KENERGIZE.com/SHR and code SHR. Hey, this is Carl. For 14 years, you've heard me talk about Can-C eye drops, and they being the reason that I do not need reading glasses at now 61 years old. But I regularly get emails and messages from people who've been using Can-C and having some amazing results. Recently, I got an email from a fellow named Chad, who, because he was on dexamethasone eye drops for over 6 months, developed a cataract. Can-C eye drops actually reduced my cataract to the point where even my doctor has a hard time finding it. I will never stop using Can-C eye drops twice a day. I've been using them since 2008, he says. And you should be too. There is no better way to keep your eyes healthy and seeing clearly than Can-C eye drops. Go to wisechoicemedicine.com today and get on board, and we will both be looking into the future with very clear vision.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom-made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone testosterone booster that works, check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back. So I want to pop this question up. When we were going into the break, first of all, Dylan Goutreau is going to get in trouble because he's at work and he's watching SHR. But hey, what better reason to get in trouble for? I mean, come on. So there is some science behind red light therapy exposure to the gonads and it increasing testosterone production. But you got to understand, testosterone production is a multifactorial process, right? The hypothalamus, the pituitary, the testicles, they are all players. And if one doesn't work, then testosterone doesn't get produced. So if you've had, let's say, an androgen, what's it called? An androgen provocation test, where they inject you with a long-acting or a gonadotropin-releasing hormone, and you produce testosterone, it means your testicles are working, but something in the brain, the hypothalamus or the pituitary, are not doing their job. And then they can do things to actually cause so the gonadotropin releasing hormone causes the pituitary to release luteinizing hormone, which then is supposed to stimulate the Leydig cells to produce testosterone. They can test each link of that. Now, if they see a rise in luteinizing hormone, but they don't see any production of testosterone, then we think, it's the gonads that are in trouble. And then red light therapy may be something that could help. But if your testosterone is low because A, you've got a lot of body fat and you're siphoning a lot of it off to estrogen, B, you had a concussion one time and your pituitary's messed up now, or your hypothalamus, which is the thermostat of the hormonal system, then shining red light on your testicles isn't going to do anything for you. So
yeah, you bring a great point, because a lot of times, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times someone send over their total testosterone value. That's it. And they're like, hey, my testosterone's low. Can you help? And anyone that starts prescribing testosterone to somebody because they just looked at their testosterone being low, it's terrible, because where we're at today, we've discovered there's a million reasons why your testosterone could be low. But what you just laid out is super important, is that it could be up here, it could be down here, and based on
or it could be over here, like if you have a lot of body fat and you're producing a lot of estradiol.
But trying to find out when you go to stimulate with another drug, maybe like if using HCG or clomiphene or something like that, if this is stimulated, but if the gonads are not doing their job, then it's not going to work for you, right? There's going to be some other issues. And you're either wasting money and not feeling good, or just, need to find other modalities. And we used to spend a lot more time figuring out the why, right, behind it. We figured out a pretty fast way to, there's a few buckets, right? We look at your BMI, we can look at these other things and see where the malfunction might be. And then just realizing some of it is just age, or, crazy thing. We had a military guy, who he was always the comms guy. And I think the comms, the radiation or something like that, just wiped out his testosterone.
Do you know when I started talking about RF on this show, a guy reached out to me who listens to the show, who is a radio shop guy, like I used to be back in the day when I was in my 20s. I owned a mobile telephone and paging company.
Nice.
And he said it's a running, like, kind of quasi joke that all the technicians in the RF business, they only have girls. None of them have boys. And that's because RF destroys sperm motility and its ability to swim. And we know that the fast swimmers that make the boys. So it's like,
and we see, with us, we pay attention to that. We have a lot of folks that have children while they're on hormone therapy. A lot of people think you can't, which is crazy. And most of the guys on testosterone have boys. And we've had guys that get pregnant when they're off, and they end up having girls. I mean, we've seen it. It's not like any kind of science other than we've seen it 3 or 4 dozen times, and it stands pretty true without exception.
And why is that? So here's why that is. Okay, because when a fetus is formed in the mother's womb, the genitalia is differentiated in the first trimester. Sexual preference in the brain is created in the third trimester. So what ends up happening is if the mother has higher testosterone levels in that first trimester, and there's an easy way to make sure the mom has higher testosterone levels in the first trimester, and by coincidence, it has to do with the father having high testosterone. But the higher the DHT, then you end up with a penis. The lower the DHT, you end up with a vagina. So if you want to try this, if you're listening to my show and you're like, your wife gets pregnant, have a lot of sex in that first trimester and ejaculate in her. Putting that testosterone in that area is going to cause a higher degree of conversion to DHT and a higher probability that you will have a baby boy. Try it and prove me wrong. So,
and even, for a woman too, to stay healthy, stay fit, stay working out, if they're doing that, that also is a good correlation with that. And when I think of a lot of the women I know that live that lifestyle, they got a lot of boys.
Well, and again, it's like we don't know if they're just having sex more, right? Like maybe they could be just like they still have desire for their husband. The husband's if they are having a lot of sex in that first trimester, I'll bet you lunch that they're gonna have a boy, because that once the DHT levels go up, testicles drop. That's it. So Jeff Clifton has another really good question. Is there a correlation between thyroid function and testosterone? 100%. Just got to put on a small amount of T4 due to TSH being too high. Test is around 450 nanograms, which isn't horrible, but it's not great.
That's low. But it's like what we would first say in this situation, especially like 450, is and what is his TSH? What was how low was it?
Yeah, what is it? Is it up by 5? Is it? Oh no, he said it's low.
So if it's low, it must be like sub, like 0.4 or under would be like hyperthyroid. But for us, just like you and I have talked about it before, is optimizing your testosterone, right? Like putting him at 900 is probably it will potentially be a great place.
7.
So it's high. It's up.
That's high.
It's just high up at 7. That means
high. Yeah, because in other words, the foot is on the gas pedal full tilt, but he's not producing enough.
When the thyroid stimulating hormone's high like that, it means that the conversion's not happening. And T4 seems wrong. It actually seems like T3 is the issue, because when we see our Hashimoto's folks, I've seen TSH up at 12. You know what I mean? Just 8 up there, and usually that situation requires a T3 intervention, not a T4.
But I'd say I would opt for an Armour thyroid or some porcine thyroid. There's that other one, Nature Throid. You're getting T4 and T3 together.
I take Nature Throid. 65 milligrams. It's a good. Then just T4 alone, I think, is probably
a mistake. I don't think I've never seen anybody prescribe T4 by itself. Just for the record, Jeff. But here, so let's connect some dots here. Men who are hypothyroid have low testosterone. Now, you may say, well, it's the testosterone doing it. Maybe, maybe not. But men who are given a high dose of thyroid hormone and become hyperthyroid become hypergonadal. So there's a link, there's a definite reciprocal relationship between thyroid and testosterone. So there's a lot of people who say, well, fix the thyroid, the testosterone will get better. And other people say, fix the testosterone and the thyroid will get better. Either one of those is probably true. But if your TSH is 7, then your body wants a lot more thyroid hormone than it's getting right now. And I would say, now I'm not a specialist at all, right? But I would say, if you fix your thyroid, I think your testosterone is going to get fixed on its own. That's just my bet. Now, how do you fix your thyroid? There's lots of ways to do that. One of them, believe it or not, is HCG. HCG, you say, Carl? I thought that was for testosterone. Well, HCG also mimics TSH. Women who are given 20,000 units of HCG intramuscularly for fertility, they become hyperthyroid for about a week. So taking HCG can actually help you raise thyroid function.
That's interesting. I'll have to look into that just from our data and just to see where that correlation. Because what's cool about what we do is, from a data standpoint, is we can like look at these things and just run the numbers and see everybody that's had some sort of added HCG, what their TSH go to. Like that's all that stuff we can look into to see how well.
Anthony Roberts came on my show in 2006, and we talked about this study that showed that women who were given bolus doses of HCG for fertility all became spontaneously hyperthyroid. And it's because there are some components of HCG that look like TSH to the body.
And I wonder if that HCG diet, which is nothing we've ever been done, is somewhat in line with that. If you have a higher thyroid function, you're going to
burn more calories. Yeah. And well, actually, there is a theory that that's part of it. And because if you eat sub 600 calories a day, your metabolism is going to slow down, which means your thyroid is going to slow down.
Yeah.
And by taking the HCG, you fool the thyroid because even though your pituitary isn't producing thyroid stimulating hormone, you're taking an outside source of TSH technically.
That's not
so HCG could help, but here's something more important. I would challenge you to start taking L-tyrosine, 5 to 750 milligrams twice a day. Make sure there's no added B6 in it. If you go to GNC and buy the GNC brand, it's got B6 in it. We take way too much B6 today, and it's reaching toxic levels in our population. So get L-tyrosine, get it at bulk supplements or someplace like that. Take 500 to 750 milligrams twice a day. Get a good iodine supplement that has all the forms, iodine and iodide. There's like 4. There's some of them out there that they come scored with a cross, so you can break it into quarters, and you can take a reasonable dose every single day where you're getting all the iodine and iodide you need. And eat 1 to 2 Brazil nuts a day. So the thing that turns T4 into T3, and remember, T3 is the feedback loop for TSH. When there's not enough T3, it tells the thyroid tells the brain, put your foot on the gas pedal because we don't have any gas. Once T3 starts to come up, thyroid stimulating hormone starts to normalize. In order for T4 to convert to T3, it depends on something called the selenoenzyme cascade. And that is comprised of 3 things: L-tyrosine, iodine, selenium. So I know people that have called me on this show and have tried all sorts of stuff, and they're hypothyroid, and I say just eat 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day, take 750 milligrams twice a day of L-tyrosine, and get a good iodine supplement. And literally, like 2 weeks later, they go, I feel great. Why didn't my doctor tell me this? Because your doctor doesn't know.
But that's great advice because, we also, like, from a clinic standpoint, we believe that thyroid medication is the most overly prescribed and abused hormone drug in the country, hands down, because not as often people don't always need it. In some cases they do, in some cases they don't. And like, your approach, that's a great approach to try. Unfortunately, inherently, people are somewhat lazy and they want the one pill that's going to fix it all. And, these other things may challenge them.
So he said he tested low in iodine and trying to find the sweet spot. So let me teach you what I learned 20 years ago about iodine. This is amazing.
What's the iodine you take for radiation?
Lugol's solution.
Potassium iodine. I want to learn about that.
So you can buy Lugol's, LUGOLDS, I think it's spelled Lugol's solution, which is an iodine solution. Or you could do this: go to the store, to the Walgreens, and buy a bottle of tincture of iodine.
John.
Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. So, the stuff that your mother puts on you when you get a little scrape, the iodine? Paint a 1-inch patch on your skin somewhere where clothing will not wear it off. When it completely disappears, paint another one and keep doing that. When you finally do it and it doesn't disappear after a few days, you've reached your sweet spot of iodine.
Wow.
Your body will uptake iodine from your skin until it doesn't need anymore. Try that and see if that helps. Aiden Ray says yes, hence why the HCG diet helps fat loss, because it does stimulate thyroid hormone production. Let's see here. Ivo Sue says, I've tried L-tyrosine, 400 milligrams a day to make thyroid smaller, but it kills my libido and erection. Testosterone around 1100 nanograms. All my thyroid labs are within range. So why are you trying to, I'm not understand which iodine test was that, blood or topical? I guess he's asking Jeff Clifton what kind of iodine test he had. Jeff, maybe you can jump in here and answer that too. But L-tyrosine will stimulate dopamine. And obviously, if you want to make your thyroid smaller, I think you really do need to focus on iodine, because the lack of iodine is what causes hyperplasia that leads to goiter in the thyroid, to make the thyroid nodule smaller. I think that's Lugol's solution you want, Ivo. Look for Lugol's solution.
Isn't there some sort of like potassium iodine or something, like one of those like emergency pack if there's a nuclear fallout?
Yes. It's actually, it's not so much the type. It's usually 4: potassium iodide, potassium iodine, and there's 2 others.
Yeah.
But it's the dose. It's like 20 milligrams. It's a big whopper. It completely saturates the thyroid, but it also has hurt people by taking that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's the downside of taking something like that? Is it just too much of a dose?
So let's talk about the nodule that you have for a second. Is it in the thyroid or parathyroid? You need to find that out first, because if it's in the parathyroid, then you may want to make sure. So the parathyroid is where calcitonin and calcitrol are produced to increase bone mineral uptake. And if it's not in the parathyroid, if it's in the general thyroid, then it's going to be iodine related. If it's in the parathyroid, I think it's probably more vitamin D related. It also could be estrogen related. If your estrogen levels get too low, I think the parathyroid will suffer. It's in the thyroid, he's saying. Okay, yeah, so then it's iodine. Look into Lugol's solution. Or even just try painting a 1-inch patch of iodine with tincture of iodine on your skin and letting it disappear on its own. See how long it takes. If it disappears quickly, then that means you're deficient, they say, in iodine. I learned that 20 years ago, and I've used it before.
I want to try it.
I know, right? All this stuff is like old stuff. You know, there's so much good information lost just because no one ever told anybody else. Like, I've used these things. I had thyroid problems 20 years ago, and I just started painting. I started taking L-tyrosine every single day. I started eating Brazil nuts, 1 or 2 a day, and I painted iodine on my arm. And like in 2 weeks, I felt amazing.
That's interesting.
And even taking thyroid hormone is not effective if you don't have enough iodine, and if you don't have enough L-tyrosine, and if you don't have enough selenium. It doesn't work.
I agree.
We have to take a break. Boy, where does the time go? All right, we're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll wrap up this discussion. Later in the show, I got a question from Christopher Price about vitamin D, and I'm going to answer it. So you may want to stick around for the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You've heard about blood flow restriction training since 2006 on SHR, but you're still on the fence. Well, here's the push. BFR is more effective at building muscle than anabolic steroids. That's right, I went there, but it's because it's the truth. My experience with the Be Strong blood flow restriction system is proof to me, and now I'm asking myself why I waited so long. You'll see undeniable changes in the targeted muscles in days and weeks like nothing you've ever tried before. I will never stop using them. Give Be Strong a try. Go to bestrong.training/super-human and use code SHR for 10% off. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again. Ever wish there was a precise way to gauge your recovery from workout to workout? Or wonder if the money you're spending on your nootropic supplements are actually improving brain function? Maybe you're aging and you're noticing some changes in memory. Wouldn't being able to really test your brain be of great value? Well, now you can with great accuracy with the Brain Gauge. The Brain Gauge lets you test essential components of brain health and track your brain health history, and all in the comfort of your own home. Go to gaugeyourbrain.com and use code SHR for $150 off this amazing device. That's gaugeyourbrain.com and SHR for $150 off.
Men and women, you've heard about hormone optimization. Do you feel like it's something you want to look into? RenewLifeRx.com is the place to start. Their doctors can help you with the solutions. RenewLifeRx.com has a simple process for lab work, consultation, and taking a deep dive into where your hormone levels can be improved. Superhuman Radio listeners get 30% off your initial lab work and consultation. Go to RenewLifeRx.com to schedule your no-obligation phone consultation today. Feel younger, get in better shape, and be more productive at RenewLifeRx.com.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where we use oxygen for the power of good.
Welcome back. The discussion continues. The Jeff wants to know, I think from Aiden Ray wants to know from Jeff, you mentioned free levels were okay, but was that a free T3 or free T4? So that's a good point, because if it's free T3 levels were okay. But then again, I don't like the word okay. You know, when people say, well, I just had my blood work done and my doc said everything's okay.
I didn't get it because okay was a good answer for blood work. Right. Optimal is the word that we love to use.
Well, you know what? And it is, and you know, now that we know that medicine is individual, like, is it okay for you individually? That's what really counts.
Right. And we also can't chase bullseye, because in going back and forth on bullseye, you can cause a lot of disruption if you can get pretty good. And at the end of the day, it's the outcome of the patient, right? If they're like, man, I feel great, body fat's dropping off, I got the energy, well, then that's where we want it to be. And I think it's important to have a balance of those two, but without any feedback from the individual, and just going on blood work is usually fair.
Well, and the doctors say, you're fine, your levels are okay. I have a friend whose blood sugar is close to 125 milligrams a liter, and his doctor said, no, you're fine. No, he's at the door of pre-diabetes. He's going to be diabetic in a couple clicks.
Yeah, there's an insulin sensitivity issue there.
I mean, that's like people, you ever see one of those funny videos? Somebody's backing into a parking spot, and some good Samaritan, but a devious one, goes come on, you're good. Come on, you're good. Come on, you're good. And then all of a sudden the guy crashes, bang, and he goes, okay, stop. It's like, no, that's not guiding somebody. That's not good. Like,
that's medicine now.
Yes, that's medicine. That's how medicine works.
You were not correct. Like when things go bad, that's when we'll fix you. No. I want to never go bad. I want to stay great. I want to stay healthy. I want to stay vibrant. And that's the mentality of our group, you know.
I like NatureThroid. I had the girl who invented and owned the company of NatureThroid on my show probably 10 years ago, 9 years ago. The big problem with NatureThroid is that their standards are so strict that they run out all the time. It's hard for them. You know, Armour Thyroid. So, you know, when you use porcine thyroid, you're using a thyroid of a living animal. And from animal to animal, there could be deviations in how functional their thyroid is.
Yeah.
So if your batch of thyroid hormone came from a pig that had suboptimal thyroid production, you're getting something that may be only half as effective as the batch you got last time. With NatureThroid, not only do they test for T4 and T3, but you know, there's also a T1, a T2, a T5, a T6, and a T7. There are 7 different identified thyroid hormones produced by the thyroid, but we only care about T3 and T4 because we think those are the only ones we should worry about. Well, if nature gave us 7, there's a reason for it.
Right.
And all of them are in NatureThroid. They're not all in Armour. And in fact, there's evidence that some of them are literally in the purification process washed out.
Yeah, nature's what I use. That's what most of our folks do is a nature thyroid. But you're right, the availability sometimes. I remember last year it was like an absolute drought of thyroid medication, and so you have to try to find some sort of alternative for these folks. And there was a lot of people not feeling good because they actually had the right medication, the right dose, the proper thing. And when you switch that, it can be a pretty big deal for folks.
I wonder if red light therapy would be good for thyroid hormone, to go back to Jeff Clifton's question.
I would think so. I wonder.
I think later. So I can't wait. I got the pool open. I'm on the motorcycle. I'm going to go out and get a pair of Levi's overalls today so I can drive around shirtless. Sun. Get sun. Don't worry about skin cancer. If your diet is clean, you're not going to get skin cancer. Get sun. All these things that are in red light therapy units and all these things and all these different light therapy units and different wavelengths, they're all in the sun. Just get in the sun. Your thyroid will be healthy. Everything will be healthy. Hell, get out there. I asked Elisa. We have panels around the pool area where she and I lay. I take my drawers off and I lay out there naked because that's evolution.
All right. Get the sun on there.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, I'm very dark skinned, so I'm not worried about burning anything. But just get the sun. Lay out in the sun. Get your thyroid under the sun. Those rays penetrate through the skin deep into that thyroid. It'll make you healthy. Ivo Su, I believe he lives in a tropical climate, and I got to believe that he gets out in the sun a lot. I wonder. I hope he's still listening live because I'd like to know if he gets in the sun a lot.
Yeah, I've noticed with this whole shutdown and the gyms being closed, I started riding my bike 7 to 12 miles every day, and I love it. I used to race BMX as a kid, so like that joy, like we were talking about earlier off the air, that you get from a motorcycle or something. Like I like riding around on my bike. I love that for years. But I'm out here in the sun. I don't put any kind of sunscreen or anything. I just I'll pop my shirt off if it's it's like 90 degrees here in Texas, and so and I've noticed I feel better, and I feel like maybe my skin. Everything looks healthier, and my wife just said the other day, she was like, "You look younger than you did 6 months ago."
Yeah.
All right.
So do you ride your bike to work and stuff, or do you ride a stationary bike?
No, outside. I don't ride it to work. Like it's a work. I don't even like ride. If I do, I don't even bring like family with me. I'm like 12, 13 miles an hour, ripping around. It's an exercise thing for me. Heart rate about 150 to 160. Sweating. I'm working. It's a workout for me. I could ride my bike. I don't even ride my bike to the gym, and it's like literally a quarter mile from my house.
Yeah.
I should start riding my bike.
I was in the best shape of my life when I walked to the gym, trained, and walked home. When the judge took my car away in the divorce, I was in the best shape of my life because I was living in Arizona. I was walking to and from the gym in the sun on top of it. So Ivo says he's out in the sun all the time.
It's good.
5 to 6 hours a day. That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I could say that. I really do. I'd love to build a studio with like a retractable roof or a glass roof where I could actually do the show. I did the show. So I went to visit somebody in Puerto Vallarta in 2008, and I did my show, two episodes from the beach in PV, and it was the greatest experience. I doing the show.
Doing that like live on location, Carl Lenore, and you just got.
I was watching a girl that they have these booths on by the water. With the white sheets hanging and blowing in the wind, and they give massages. And I was watching a girl get a massage while I was doing the show. I was like, man, I'm going to go down there in a couple minutes after the show's over and get a massage. Yeah, it was cool. Renew Life RX is the place to go. If you want more information, you could save 20% off, believe it or not, if you use the code SHR. Off of your blood work. If you want to get started, reach out, go to renewliferx.com, contact them through the website, and they'll get you started. Doesn't hurt to ask. There's no charge to ask questions.
Yeah, we love to have the conversation because at the end of the day, we don't want to work with anyone if it's not going to help them. If it's not right for them, for sure.
No. But it's one of those things where it's almost always right for people because it really does make a big difference to your life. I mean, I've been on HRT since 2007 now.
Yeah, you got to trust your gut. If your gut tells you, we work with most of our clients are pretty in tune with their body and what they're eating and the responses they're getting. And their gut's like, something else is out there. You're probably right. Your gut's probably right. Let's get the blood work done. It might be testosterone. And we can provide some really great guidance and manage that for them.
And also do me a favor and share the show.
Yeah.
Share the show. We need more people to hear. If you believe that the things we talk about on this show help you, then help the people you care about by sharing the show and let them learn. It's really a funny phenomenon. I'll do a show and I'll say to somebody, like a friend of mine, man, today's show was great with Adam Lamb. Yeah, what did you talk about? I'm like, go listen to the show. Like, I'm not going to repeat everything. First of all, I can't do a good job because this show is organic. Anybody who knows me knows there is no scripting in what we do. And so it's like, how do I even recount everything we talked about in an hour? I'm like, go listen to the show. It's like, what's so wrong with going and listening to this? Just go listen to the damn show. That's it. So share the show and help us all out and help people out. Because remember, the more people we make healthy, the less you pay for healthcare. So indirectly, you're helping yourself. I'm being selfish. All right, Adam, great to spend time with you, brother. Talk soon, okay?
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I have a question from Christopher Price about vitamin D. And for those of you who have been emailing me lately, I can't believe how many people keep emailing me about Primal D. It's coming back, but I'm going to wait till after the summer because you should be getting your vitamin D from the sun in the summer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more. Imagine if you had a digital twin, one that you could compare your own health and fitness outcomes to, one that showed you whether or not the things you're doing, food you're eating, or drinks you're drinking are actually working for you or against you. Well, now you can. The first ever advanced epigenetic saliva test that compares 20 million different data points of your DNA to help predict what is aging you faster or keeping you younger is being introduced to my audience at a 70% discount from the normal price. Go to seeds.md/epigenetic-test today to learn how to get your own digital twin that will help you take the steps to live longer and stay stronger. Don't wait because this is a limited time offer not available anywhere else. Once these tests are gone, they're gone. Again, go to seeds.md/epigenetic-test today to learn more. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000. Or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Are you a fan of the low-carb lifestyle? Having trouble getting fat adapted on your keto diet? Feel like your digestion has stalled? Now there's Capex. Capex increases fat loss and energy on any low-carb, no-carb diet, all while improving digestion. Capex boosts AMPK in muscles by 52% and fat cells by 300%. Capex increases ATP in your liver by 22%, a key part of energy production, all while revving up the fat-burning hormone adiponectin by a whopping 248%. Nothing works like Capex, and now you can get Capex for up to 42% off by going to kenergize.com/SHR and choosing one of the purchase options and using the code SHR. That's KENERGIZE.com/SHR and code SHR. I love beef, and if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 2 free 10-ounce New York strips when you purchase $50 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to PIEDMONTESE.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Welcome back. So the weather let up. It's literally been raining every day since I got my motorcycle. Today was the first day that there's no rain in the forecast, so I got to ride the bike to work today, and I love it. I forgot how much I love riding motorcycles. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I didn't own a car. All I had was a motorcycle. My girlfriend, Tracy, had a car, and that's the car we used when we went out. The rest of the time, we were on my bike, and I love riding. I really do. Anyway, so Christopher Price, who listens to the show a lot, he messaged me the other day. He says, how much? Well, here's his actual question. Hold on. He says, what is the safest amount of D3 one can take orally, daily? Can D3 be taken intravenously? And if so, since you bypass the digestive tract, does that lessen the chance of harming the kidneys? So this is a multi-part question. First of all, the safest amount of D3 you should take is the amount that you take that gets you into your desired sweet spot, your individual sweet spot, when you test your D3 levels. D3 is real. It works. It's a hormone. It's not, I don't know, pick something that doesn't have any harmful side effects. D3 can harm you if you have too much. I mean, if you took too much of a dose of D3 for too long, it literally starts to burst hepatic cells in your liver, because the liver tries to store as much as it can, and like a glutton, the cells can actually start to burst. It's toxic. It can kill you. We found this out by the Inuit discovered that if you wanted to eat polar bear liver, you had to strip the casing off of it, because the casing had so much vitamin D and vitamin A in it that they became toxic just from eating that and died. So vitamin D is not something you should be willy-nilly about. Well, my friend told me to take 10,000 IUs a day. Well, first of all, genetically, your friend may not be harmed by that, but you may. So you can go to, every city has a lab test place where you can walk in and get blood work done. In town here in Louisville, it's Any Lab Test now. I like them. The girl Maria knows me. I go in there. I get stuff tested all the time. Some people like to buy wine. Some people like to buy shirts. I like to get blood work done. I'm weird that way. So how do you know that your individual 25-hydroxy levels are where they need to be, your sweet spot? Some people will say, 80 nanograms is where you want to be, or 60 to 80. Over 100. Medical community says anything under 32 is bad, so anything over 32 is good. So the reality is that, and I learned this from Dr. Chris Masterjohn, and it's a really, really important point. Physicians don't check this. When you reach your level of D3, that's the right level for you. Remember we were talking about parathyroid a little while ago with Ivo Su about his nodule? Parathyroid hormone, calcitonin most notably, drops off. When you have adequate levels of 25-hydroxy in your blood, the thyroid goes, the bones are going to be taken care of. I don't need to stimulate the reabsorption of calcium into the bones, and it stops producing calcitonin. So while most doctors don't know this, or they know but don't care, if you really want to find your individual sweet spot, you should test 25-hydroxy and parathyroid hormone, and then supplement and go back and see where your 25-hydroxy goes, and your parathyroid hormone should start to come down. And then even up it some more for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so. Too much D for a month isn't going to kill you. But up it and go. And when you see that 25-hydroxy level rises, but parathyroid hormone doesn't continue to drop, now you're just wasting your time. You can back down to the dose that got you where the parathyroid hormone was the lowest and the 25-hydroxy was the highest. And that is your individual Ivo Su, Aiden Ray, Jeff Clifton. That is your individual sweet spot for vitamin D. Now, we know this is true because if you go in the sun, so Ivo Su sits in the sun 5 to 6 hours every single day. So every single day, his body's probably producing, 20,000 units of 25 of D3 in his skin. But there's a feedback loop that tells the skin whether to release it so that it can go to the liver and become 25-hydroxy, or to destroy it. That's right. So the feedback loop says to the skin, we don't need any more, destroy it. And the skin does in fact destroy the D3, the cholecalciferol gets destroyed in your skin, so it can't be converted. Okay? So we know there's a feedback loop, and one of the ways we can discover our own personal feedback loop is paying attention to parathyroid hormone in the face of supplementation. So what is the safest amount of D3 one can take orally daily? You got to figure that one out yourself. Now, with that being said, darker skinned people like us, if you are dark, versus light skinned people. So I could take 20,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, which I do, and I'll barely get into close to 60. I'll be in the 50s. Why? Because my people spent every day toiling in the sun. And as a result, an evolutionary gift we got was melanin. We got to protect us from the damaging effects of the sun. But that also means that we produce less vitamin D as a result of it, number one. And this is why African Americans are always so terribly deficient in vitamin D, because they could lay out in the sun every day for every sun-bearing hour, and they would only produce just a little bit of vitamin D. Remember, I have Northern African blood in me, so I have that problem as well. But there's another side to it. There's a binding protein that deactivates, and it's called binding protein 3. It's the 25-hydroxy binding protein that literally protects you from having too high of vitamin D3. So not only do dark people produce less, but they also have a system in place that if all of a sudden they started producing too much, it would grab it and take it out of circulation. So if you are dark-skinned, you could probably get away with taking 10,000 IUs a day ad infinitum and not see any problems with it. That same dose in a fair-skinned person may put them up at 100 nanograms. A study that was done many years ago in Sweden, where they were all fair-skinned people, found that giving one of these fair-skinned people 5,000 IUs of vitamin D a day put them up in the 80s. Giving them just 1,000 IUs of vitamin D a day put them up in the 50s. And so they don't have a lot of binding protein, and they don't have any melanin. So they produce a lot of vitamin D because they evolved in an environment that was scarce of sun. So every little bit of sun, they had to turn it into vitamin D. So again, you need to test to find out what your safe dose is. There are really no generalizations that are appropriate, in my humble opinion. Can it be taken intravenously? I don't know. I know that in some studies they use it intramuscularly. When you give vitamin D intramuscularly, it bypasses the whole negative feedback process. When you take vitamin D any other way other than allowing it to come through the skin, you are actually taking some real problem, causing some potential problems, because you take the system designed to manage vitamin D out of the equation completely. So I would continue to take oral vitamin D for now. I would test. I would make sure that you're not getting too high, and I'd pay attention to parathyroid hormone to find your individual sweet spot. As far as it harming the kidneys, if you're staying in that sweet spot, you're not going to have the problems with the kidneys, because the parathyroid hormone is part of the equation that drives calcium calcification of soft tissue, kidneys, arteries, and so on, which brings us to Jeff Clifton's question about vitamin K2. If you're taking oral vitamin D3 and you're not paying attention to your levels and you're just being willy-nilly, I absolutely think K2 is important. If you're paying attention to your levels and you're keeping it at a reasonably high level, maybe in the 40s or 50s, I don't think K2 is that important. You don't have to take you don't have to take K2 at all when vitamin D is made in your skin, interestingly, right? Because you've got the feedback system. It's managing itself. The body manages what it wants as far as D3 goes. But once you bypass that, either with intramuscular injected or oral supplemented, now you do have to worry about it. I've been getting emails because people missed Primal D. And I will be reintroducing Primal D. It's being reformulated. It's going to work better. We had a small handful of people out there who didn't respond to it. A woman just emailed me this morning and says, when are you going to come out with Primal D again? It's the only vitamin D supplement that got my husband's levels high. So I'm going to wait to introduce it at the end of the summer, because I want all of you to get your vitamin D from the sun. And then we start supplementing in the cooler weather. So Aiden Ray has a question. He says, what D3 25OH levels do you personally prefer? Do you reduce your dose on days you're in the sun? Do you prefer to take it in the sun? Do you prefer to take with whole eggs eaten early in the day? I always take vitamin D and vitamin A with a fatty meal, because then it's absorbed. You've mentioned not showering immediately after going out in the sun to prevent D3 levels. Yes, because D3 is made in the skin, but it's actually, some of it resides on the surface of the skin. You can wash some of it away, but if you're at the beach and you're in the sun every day and you're going in the water, don't worry about it. You're going to get adequate levels of vitamin D3. I don't take D3 in the summertime. I spend a lot of time in the sun, and that's the way I prefer to get my D3. But here in Kentucky, we only have a few good months, 5, maybe 4, at best 5 months of sun, and then it disappears again. But yes, your D3 should always be taken. And my sweet spot happens to be in the high 50s, low 60s. That's where my thyroid, my parathyroid hormone stops. It stops dead. It doesn't go higher. It doesn't go low. It just hangs there. And so it took a while for me to figure that one out. But I don't worry about it in the summertime. I only worry about it when I'm supplementing orally, and I won't worry about it anymore once Primal D is available again. Renal D3 supplementation shown to improve renal function in type 2 diabetes. So actually renal protection. Yeah, makes sense. The whole kidney stone thing is tied to calcification. And that is when you're taking such high doses and the feedback loop is gone. And it does show that high doses for long periods of time, I'm talking about years, you will start to see calcium deposits end up in tissue that you don't want. Thanks for asking the question too. Thank you. So that's it. I hope I answered that question. Pay attention to your levels. This is not I love to say on the show when speaking about certain supplements, the good thing about this supplement is it works. The bad thing about this supplement is it works. And you would no more overdose on Valium or insulin or anything else. When something works, respect it, get blood levels tested, find your own information about where you belong with that supplement, and pay attention to your blood levels. And that's it. And that's it for today. I don't think we have a show tomorrow, believe it or not. Tomorrow's Friday. Ooh, maybe I'll be able to ride my motorcycle all day tomorrow. Wouldn't that be great? All right. Thank you for being here today. Thanks to all of you who pay attention to this show, who participate and ask questions. Thank you for making my job so much more fun. I got to go visit Ivo Su someday. He has the life I want. And of course, share the show. Please share the show with friends. Ask them to listen. Ask them to save their own lives. It's going to get tough out there because vaccines are only 40 to 50% effective. If people think that this vaccine is going to save them, it's not. The only thing that's going to save people is get your act together, get strong. Like I started saying when the show first started, live stronger, live longer. The stronger people survive. Okay, see you next week. Thanks for being here.